Yes, people, we are joined again for the second episode of Heavy on My Heart, the place where we speak less and listen more and hear the stories from those in the community doing amazing things. And today we have on the amazing Senna.
Hello.
How you doing, Senna?
I'm so good. How are you?
Good. I'm good. I'm all dandy. I'm all dandy. This has been long awaited though. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I mean, my ADHD potentially might kick in on this, so you might want to turn the volume down briefly. But Senna, I know that you are somebody that's into fitness. I'm not going to give the listeners too much, but can you tell me a bit about yourself as a person, and what you're currently doing, and just a bit about you?
Of course. So my name's Senna Whiteman. I'm 24. I'm currently working as a SEN school nurse, and then also have my online coaching business on the side, helping men and women transform their bodies, transform their lifestyles, and become the best versions of themselves.
Perfect. And how is the journey with working in the schools? Because I didn't actually know that. Is that?
Yeah, so I started off at 18, I went to university and studied child nursing. And that was something that came around from a bit about my story, which I'm sure we'll get into on the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I studied child nursing and then went back home to Kent to study, and then got a job in an SEN school, which is something that I always wanted to do. And then, it's just kind of excelled from there. But it's a job that I have a huge passion for, so I truly enjoy it.
Perfect. And I'm gathering, obviously, that role is challenging because those of you that know myself are working in amongst the community. Yeah. But it's not about me today, it's about you. So that's perfect. So in terms of the fitness, have you ever competed, or has it only been something you've only done as a lifestyle?
Yeah, so I got into fitness back in 2016.
Right.
And then I did my first show when I was 17. So I was kind of waiting for that age to be like, okay, now you can compete. So I did my first show, which was a young juniors beginners show back when competing wasn't really that much of a popular thing.
Right.
It wasn't really on the market too much, so I found a YouTuber online who had done a show in America, and I saw the glam bits of it, the sparkly bikini, the tan. I was like, that's my next goal. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get there. So I did my first bodybuilding show when I was 17, competed again 3 years later when I was 20.
Wow.
In wellness. So my first show, they said to me, I came off stage and they said, "You've got way too much muscle." And I was like, but I've only just started. Like, where can I go from here? And they were like, wellness is 100% your category. So I took the next 3 years really trying to grow into the wellness category. And and then competed back in 2020.
And for those of the listeners that don't know what the wellness category is, I mean, we're talking about sparkling bikinis and going on a stage. I mean, I haven't tried one on, but I'm encouraged. What is wellness category for those of the listeners that don't know what that is?
Sure. So naturally in women's, we have our bikini competitors, which is more of a smaller kind of frame, a lot of natural muscle, but that kind of healthy looking build and very symmetrical. And kind of a lot more balance between the upper and lower body. Right. Whereas wellness category is a lot more muscle mass in the lower part of the body. So you're seeing thicker glutes, thicker hamstrings, quads, and my legs were naturally more dominant. So it felt like the right category for me to sort of like grow into, in a sense.
That sounds pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Did you ever find, because I found, when I had my first competition, I had a bit of imposter syndrome, like, what am I doing on this stage? I've got, for those that are young and black, I'm not saying I'm young, but our legs don't always grow. The top part's fine, but our ankles are just like lower, that end there just doesn't grow. So for me, I'm going, my legs are small. Genetically, I'm not gifted there.
Right.
I don't know if you had the same in terms of, can I really do this? Who am I to get on a stage? Or have you always been, I got this?
I would say the turning point for me was like, being on stage because of where I kind of came from. Right. My mental thing was just like, I'm going to go as me and I'm going to show up and do the best that I can. I'm not sort of comparing. Although bodybuilding is a competitive sport and it is all about, you're in a lineup of people, as you know, and they are literally judging you based on your appearance. And so a slight bit of imposter syndrome being like, am I worried about the way they're going to see me? But also knowing that a lot of people say like competitive sports is like leaving no stone unturned. So like you've done everything you can to bring the best on that day. So you're kind of showing up with like, this is all I've got and this is what you're going to judge me on. But also there's a lot of sort of like politics involved and stuff. And I think you are what the judges want that day. And if you're not, then that's fine also, you know. But bodybuilding for me and competing wasn't ever something that I was going with the intention of winning and placing first. It was more of I want to push myself to my absolute limits and be proud of what I can bring. And that came from sort of why I got into how I got into bodybuilding.
Right, and we just briefly spoke about then about being proud in doing what you were doing. I want to know a bit more in depth then, a bit about some of the whys, if you don't mind me asking, as to, was there a point where you decided, okay, I want to compete? Was it that it was something personal to you? I know when I did my first competition, it was a point where, God rest her soul, I had lost my auntie, and the last conversation I had with my auntie was a bit of an argument, and that always stood with me, and I needed a bit of an outlet. So I don't know if you had something whereby there was a bit of a niggle and you thought, I'm going to use this situation to carry me through a competition.
Yeah, there was. And it's the biggest part of who I am today and why I'm kind of so happy to sit on a podcast, talk about my story and who I am as a person. So it all goes back to like when I was 13 years old. So I was diagnosed with a rare genetic disorder.
Okay.
So I have been diagnosed with a type of rare dwarfism. So my type of dwarfism is called hypochondroplasia. And it's basically, you know, your typical kind of dwarfism where you see people with the same sort of build, same head sort of facial structure and build, that's achondroplasia, whereas I have hypochondroplasia. And I only have it from my hips downwards, which is why it's so rare.
Right.
So it showed up, and the reason it came around was when I was 8 years old. You know, sort of like in primary school, they ask you to sit cross-legged in assemblies. Well, I couldn't physically do it because of the way that my knees kind of grew outwards. And I remember going home to my mum and being like, Mum, I got told off today by a teacher and I didn't do anything wrong, I just can't do it. And we realised that because of my bone structure, there was actually something wrong with my legs and why I get tired walking quite far distances. And so after 4 years, so I went when I was 8 and then when I was 12, I was diagnosed. It was then clear that there was something that needed to happen for me to be able to not walk and not sort of do activities without getting overly tired. And it was noticeable that I was always small as a child, but when you're a young, small girl and around the ages between 8 to 10 and 12, it's not something that's massively as substantial. But I was 4'5" at the time.
Wow.
And because of my dwarfism, I would always only ever be 4'5". So I was transferred to a specialist in London who said basically the ultimatum of you're going to need a surgery, a corrective surgery on your limbs. It will be the surgery, it will take 6 months, it will happen, and then after that you'll be fine and you'll get on. And that was where it all kind of began, but it wasn't as simple as that.
That's a journey in itself. So am I right in saying you were diagnosed with dwarfism?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
And at that point, like you said, you know, being a child, being told this, it's interesting that you said you didn't see yourself any different from anyone else.
No.
You know, at the time, which
and I still don't now, which is crazy.
This is it.
Yeah, I like to say like maybe I'm delirious, but I do carry myself tall. You know, I don't see myself as being the height of like, I think on the sort of general charts I sit around like a 7-year-old's height, but I don't carry myself in the world as that, and I don't let it kind of define me, or I don't see if I'm struggling with something and be like, oh, that's my dwarfism and that's a bad thing. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. And these are the simple things in life that makes us who we are.
Yeah.
You know. I think I previously told you I was a kid that used to walk not knee, like bowling. My knees would knock, and you know, it goes to show we live in a world where everybody wants the six pack and the being 6'2" and and it's kind of like, I actually want to be a bit different.
100%. And I think a lot of the time, so when my sort of surgeries got really serious, as in it wasn't as simple as a 6-month kind of case, like I ended up being wheelchair bound for 2 years. And I ended up having 9 surgeries in the end, and it very much took a turn where mentally I kind of was like, I don't really see a way out of this. This is going to be my life forever now. And I remember I used to cry to my mum and literally scream like, why me? What have I ever done to deserve this? And now I see it as the biggest blessing of my life, because like what I did made me who I am. It's allowed me to understand myself and other people so much more. And being different is my favourite thing in this world. Yeah. And I think in this society and nowadays, especially what we're seeing in young children, which is really scary, is that they're wanting to be the same as others. And it's like, there's literally nobody in that. You are made as you for purpose, on purpose, with like complete intention. And I'd love to be able to advocate that more to young people. 100%. Keyword,
you are currently doing that now.
Yeah, yeah, quite literally.
And those that are watching this will definitely be inspired from that as well. So you spoke about, if you don't mind me touching upon it, about, crying to mum and saying, why me, why this situation? And I feel like often in life, as humans, we get different situations where we do question things, don't we? But it's about accepting, embracing, and using challenging times as fuel, isn't it?
100%.
And that's what you've done.
Quite literally, yeah. And I think it's often when we're in it, and I think that's something that I'm learning, even in challenging times away from this, because this was now sort of 9 years ago, 10 years ago. I still now think that when a hard time comes around, when you're in it, you don't always know that there's going to be better or why it's happening for a reason. And I think that's okay to feel that way, to not really know why bad things are happening, but there's always going to be a time where you look back and be like, that was a lesson, or that was growth, and that allowed me to... I always say to people, it's not what you go through, it's what you grow through. And I'm a huge advocate for that. Like, everything that you experience is going to teach you new things, help you grow as a person. So...
Oh, massive. So in conjunction with that then, the coaching.
Yes.
The coaching.
Yeah.
So we've gone from, having a bit of, going through who you are, your identity, then going into, okay, I want to compete.
Yeah.
Then we've gone, I actually want to coach.
Yes.
Absolute inspiration. So how is the coaching going now?
Yeah, coaching's going really well. So I kind of found it that leading up to my bodybuilding show, like when I was able to see of what my body was capable of doing, which was the drive all along. So like I went from walking to I was like, okay, now I'm walking, I'm going to step on stage and I'm going to compete. Like that's the drive for it. That's the thing that I'm going to do next. Like what am I going to do after that? And there's been a few kind of little goals in between. Like my goal was to climb a mountain or like summit a mountain. Ticked that off a few years ago. Like that was fulfilling. But yeah, then it was like, okay, I love fitness. I love it and I do it for myself. But how many other people can I inspire or help with? And I don't think it's, within a lot of the fitness industry, it's not just about kind of nutrition plans and getting yourself in the gym and training. I think so much about well-being in general comes under that as well. And I think that's something that I really wanted to key in with my clients is like, I'm not just going to be somebody that slaps you a diet plan. I'm almost going to be your biggest cheerleader and your best friend, because I needed someone when I was going through everything I did to say like, you've got this, I see your potential and you're going to be able to get there, but it's only you that can get you there. Like when I wasn't able to walk, I had a nurse once tell me like, this is you now, like you've got to get up and you've got to do the work. And I like to take the same approach with my clients, being like, there's somebody that maybe is really introvert, maybe doesn't think that they're worthy, and through coaching I can I somehow seem to attract the sort of people that are on that wavelength and that need a little bit more guidance and support. It might be that they've never had somebody in their life tell them like, you can do this, you can, if you have a goal you can get it, if you have a dream you can achieve it. And so yeah, like I'm absolutely loving, I have a really good board, like group of women at the minute that I'm supporting. I've had a few male clients too as well. I know some men are a little bit a little bit funny about having a female coach tell them what to do. But yeah, it's the most fulfilling thing. Like that, alongside working in an SEN school, like my passion is just helping people.
I still am stuck on the fact that you've said going from not walking to walk, and I massive congratulations on that. I cannot just carry on the convo without actually saying, that is massive. You know, I know I do this a lot, but I stem upon when my mum had her stroke and lost the ability to walk.
Yeah.
And she had a junior nurse who had whispered in her ear, "I know you're faking this." And because she wasn't able to speak because she was mute, she was.
Oh my goodness.
She was able to walk the 4 months after and got her speech back, and she managed to see the person and said, "I remember what you said to me."
Oh my gosh.
So
wow.
I can appreciate someone who's gone from not being able to
yeah.
You know, when you think about the technicality of making your hand do this, do this.
Yeah.
Fair play.
Thank you.
Fair play.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a big journey.
So stemming on from that, Senna, her name's not Sienna, I kept saying Sienna earlier. Senna. Stemming on from that, what would you say have you had any shortcomings in terms of the journey so far or previously, any obstacles that arose with the coaching?
What I would say is like it's the same thing in terms of that imposter syndrome when starting your own business. It's like, okay, there's a lot of other people out here doing this. Why are people going to come to me rather than go to said other person? But I think naturally I've somehow attracted the right sort of people in that they're not just seeing me for a coach, as I touched base on earlier. It's not a case of just, okay, this person's going to tell me what to eat. They see what I've been through and that I can be that person that says like, I've been there, I'm going to help you, I'm going to guide you. And it takes a lot more than just, I'm on the WhatsApp with them like 24/7. Like they'll text me like, today's been a really bad day, this has happened, and I'll be straight on a call with them or like on a voice note, like, come on, like let's get ourselves back into gear, let's do this, let's talk. And it's that holistic approach that I really like, and I do the same within my job role with nursing. It's like I'm not just going in, doing the job and walking out, you know. It's going to be a holistic approach in terms of how are you feeling, is there anything that we can do, like what's life like around you right now, how are you feeling emotionally. And I think a lot of that comes on board, but is also why I have such good relationships with my clients, and hopefully for it to grow, you know. It's something that I'm the least money motivated person in the world, right? Which is surprising when people say, oh, I have my own business. But truly it is just, I love helping people, and that's what I want to do for the rest of my life.
And I can see that, and it sounds like your journey, like you said, you're not money driven, but you're purpose driven. Yeah,
100%. And I wish that everybody could have that same fulfillment, because why would you want to just sort of get up and do something that you don't like every day, or, you know, that feeling of like, oh, I've got to go back to work. Like, I feel like I don't work a day in my life because like, I'm just existing, and by doing that I'm helping people at the same time. It's a blessing, it really is. So that why me kind of fulfillment has just like been out the window for a long time, because all of that was so worth it for the experiences I get now, like today. Like it's great.
Me and Ben are pretty cool, aren't we?
You're not too
Shouts
bad.
out to Ben on this as well. Don't know where he is, he's in here somewhere. But saying that then, back into what we're just discussing, what would you say to I'm going to say female on this, that might be in a position where the motivation, I'm not going to say discipline, the motivation has gone, and they are thinking, I'm unhappy with the way I look, I wish I was fitter. Just the element of self-care and appreciating themselves, but they might be scared to take that first leap into fitness. Would there be any advice that Senna would be saying from a coach?
There would be, and I think I learned this not so long ago, and I think it's really resonated with me, is that if we were to truly sit, and actually I used to teach a stretch class back when I used to work in Pure Gym, and the 30-minute class was included in the membership, and I'd always make sure that at 10 minutes before the end, I'd get everyone to sit down and close their eyes, and we'd do like a meditation. And it became such a habit that we were like, okay, and I would never go in with an intention of what that meditation would be, it would just spring to me. I'd just be closed eyes, we'd do breath work, and I'd say first thing that popped into my head. And one time, I remember it really stuck with me, and I'll carry it forward forever, is like, I said to them that I want you to imagine yourself with a loved one, someone that's really important to you, somebody that you truly would go to the end of the earth for, whether it could even be your husband, your partner, your best friend, your mum, whoever. And I want you to think of all the bad things that you say to yourself, and with every part of you, say it to them in the same aggression and emotion and passion that you say it to yourself. And just watch the colour and the pain, like, and all the happiness within them, like, just drain from them, and see what happens to them. See how that makes you feel. And I could see that people like moving out of this like comfortable position and moving a little bit. And I think, but this is good. And I said to them, like, it will be tough to do this exercise, but I think we really need to benefit from it. In that, like, see how that happens after you say 2 or 3 things over a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Imagine you're doing that for them every time you see them every day. Tell them every day those horrible things. You can see people's brains being like,
where's this going?
Yeah, where are you going with this? Like, this isn't fun. This isn't nice and relaxing. And I was like, but okay, take your age. Put that on that person. For 50 years, they've been telling themselves they're not good enough, that you're ugly, that you're fat, you're not fit, that your lifestyle is rubbish, you're lazy. How do you think that would affect that person that you truly care about? And I'm like, just put yourself in that position, and like, how many of us here do that to ourselves on a daily basis?
Yeah.
And every single one of them, like, you just see these hands like raised slowly. And I just wanted to say to them, like, and the same for women with my coaching, like, if you say all these horrible things to yourself, like, it's not about self-development, standing there and suddenly deciding one day, oh, I'm going to speak nicely to myself when I look in the mirror. It goes so much deeper than that. Like, by you following a good, healthy nutrition and fueling your body in a way that it's meant to, by engage, as you say, discipline in a sense, using that word of like, I'm tell myself I'm going to do something and I'm going to follow through with it. By doing that, you genuinely build a love for yourself, because what you're saying is, I'm setting these intentions and I'm actually meeting them, you know? And as humans, we thrive off progress. And so I like to see that when I engage with a client or I get them on board, I set them these goals and they're ticking those boxes, and you see the confidence grow. You see that, like, oh, actually, I can do these things. And seeing that change in them, I'm like, if I sell this to them when they're like inquiring, everyone's like, yeah, sign me up. I want self-love, because we all do. Like, it's not, nobody wants to suffer thinking that they're not good enough. And I can almost guarantee clients that I'm like, it's more than that. We do workshops around anxiety. We do workshops on self-love. And I think seeing that journey for women, like, if that's your first step and you've got a little tiny voice in the back of your head saying, I want to achieve something different. I don't want what I will have right now. Like, you've already made that first step by having that thought. You just then got to action it.
I could see you beaming with joy. I could see the dentures at the back there kicking in as well. Like,
I'm like so excited talking about it.
No, well, that shows us that you're passionate, and you're passionate about people. Yeah. One of the things you've highlighted just then, and it resonated with me, is when you spoke about, you know, eating healthy, and doing the best for you, because you deserve it. Yeah. And it makes me think about something that I was touching upon yesterday, which was, I believe it's called death by despair. And what death by despair is if you imagine somebody who is lacking in self-confidence, they're not happy with where they are, and instead of, let's say, pulling the plug on their life, let's just say that, they'll do, you know, they might be drinking, 6 days in the week, or having countless takeaway foods every night, or having crazy habits, or smoking more, and all you're slowly doing is eating away at your life. And it just goes to show that when it comes to putting yourself and investing in yourself, these small habits could be ruining you, if you're not careful. So like you said, invest in yourself.
100%.
There's a pull there.
And I think we see a lot nowadays of, and you probably get it being on bodybuilding prep right now too, is that like, oh, you eat really healthy. Oh, you go to the gym a lot. And it's not yet something that's like I'm really proud of you for that. Like, that's amazing. That's inspiring. A lot of it's like, oh, wow, that sounds like that's tough work. And I think we need to get a lot of people on board, or like the message that I'd love to see more is that people are always like, oh, wow, that's amazing. I want to try that. And understand that like you don't have to be at 100% from the get-go. It doesn't mean that you have to have a bodybuilding lifestyle. It just means you've got to start and you've got to take that first step.
That's it.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's not hard to be a bodybuilder. You don't have to. Just eat good. That's another thing.
Yeah, just move your body more and be a little bit more wise on your choices.
I'm saying it to the camera as well. Who said you have to have abs? Where did this come from? And if anything, to some extent, you're malnourished, boy. You're depriving yourself of it. So society right now is crazy. That's another topic.
That's a whole other topic.
That's another topic. So what can we look forward to seeing Senna doing in the future? What are her future goals and aspirations?
So I think I'll be a bit crazy here by saying I do have a dream. I have a dream. I'd love to be able to express more on the kind of topics that I talk around just kind of acceptance in yourself, understanding what it takes to kind of reach that full potential, and helping inspire people. Like, that would be the goal. I don't know how that looks yet in terms of how I'm going to get there. I have kind of like a few little ideas or daydreams that might manifest into, or I might put into the work to eventually get there. But right now I'm just really enjoying the process of meeting new people, talking, sharing my story, helping these women and beautiful women, and sharing. When I'm going to like different gym locations, I'm meeting different people, and so spreading the word that way too. I've got a lot of exciting more content touching base on about like my wheelchair story and my diagnosis coming up soon, so that will be out as well. And yeah, just being genuinely happy and at peace.
Oh, that's amazing work, man. And it just for those that might be saying, oh my God, how do I contact Senna? I want to get it. All the guys might want to train, because you said you train guys as well,
I do train guys too. I actually thoroughly really enjoy training guys in terms of their mindset around training and stuff as well. It's very different to women, but coming from a bodybuilding background, it's seamless. It makes sense.
Well, where can you say in terms of the gyms, or is it throughout the West Midlands, Warwick? Yeah,
so my online coaching covers anywhere because it's all online. And then I'm also available for PT in Warwick as well, so like one-to-one in-person training. But through my socials, there's an inquiry link in my bio. Not to plug or anything.
First 10 people get free members. I was going to say you get.
If you come from the podcast, then we might have to sort something.
Sorry. Well, I mean, it's been a pleasure having you on here.
Thank you.
Now, I'm probably not going to leave the message to the camera. Normally, I'd drop a quote or something.
Okay.
But I want to see if you have a quote in mind for the listeners before we wrap it up. Is there anything that you...
I'm going to go with just you are enough exactly as you are, It doesn't take anything, just as you are, you're enough. Like, that's what you got to remember.
Oh, bless. People, that is the one and only Senna on the podcast, Heavy on My Heart. And it's been an absolute pleasure having you here this evening.
Thank you so much.
So, if you are someone that's saying, I have a story that is sitting heavy on my heart, and I'd really like to get this story across, or maybe you're currently going through something that you want to spread some awareness of, come to the place where we speak less and listen more, and that's Heavy on My Heart. Thank you.